The Boston summer heat was terrible, pressing down on our modest apartment like a heavy blanket, even if the air conditioning was buzzing away at full power. I was seated at the kitchen table, paperwork spread out in front of me, attempting to focus on a fresh customer pitch for business. Sweat beaded on my forehead, and I wiped it away with the back of my palm, muttering to myself about how the numbers just weren't adding up. That's when Clara's voice flowed in from the kitchen, cutting through the drone of the AC unit. "Liam, your mom texted," she called out. I didn't even need to question whose mom she meant. It was Judith, my mother-in-law, not my own mother. Judith had a way about her, always courteous, always proper, yet there was something underneath it all that never quite sat right with me. "She wants to come over Sunday to celebrate your birthday," Clara said. I could sense the tension in her voice, like she was attempting to seem pleasant but couldn't quite get it off. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a big breath and rubbing my eyes. Another birthday. I'd be turning 36, and honestly, I wasn't much into celebrations anymore. Work had been eating up my time, and all I really wanted was a quiet day with Clara. Maybe some takeout, a nice beer, and a movie on the couch. But Judith had other plans, as always. She loved hosting, enjoyed putting on a show, and I knew saying no wasn't really an option. "What did you tell her?" I yelled back, already expecting the answer. Clara walked into the doorway, drying her hands on a dish towel, her ebony hair pulled back in a haphazard bun. She flashed me a tiny, tired smile. "I said we'd be there. It's your birthday, Liam," she insisted. I nodded, not shocked. Clara always consented to these things, even when she didn't want to. She did it for me, and I loved her for it, even if it meant another unpleasant afternoon with her mom. The reality was, Judith and Clara didn't get along. Not really. On the surface, everything was okay. Judith would grin, offer compliments, ask about Clara's freelance design work with that sugary tone of hers. But I'd seen the way her eyes tightened as Clara talked, the tiny digs she'd slip into conversations, comments about how Clara must be so busy or how she didn't understand all that artsy crap. Clara never said much back. She just nodded and maintained her cool. But I could tell it got to her. I asked her about it once late at night when we were lying in bed, the city bustling outside our window. "Does it bother you?" I said, my arm stretched across her. She shrugged, staring up at the ceiling. "It's just how she is. I live with it." That was Clara, strong, stable, always putting up with more than she should. I threw the pitch papers away and stood, stretching my sore back. The apartment smelled like the lemon cleanser Clara had used earlier, mixed with the lingering heat of the day seeping through the walls. I strolled over to the kitchen, where she was rinsing a glass in the sink, her shoulders slightly slumped. "You sure you're comfortable with this?" I asked, leaning against the counter. She stared at me, her hazel eyes catching the light. "It's fine, Liam. It's one day. We'll go, eat some cake, and come home." She hesitated, then smirked. "Besides, you know she'd never let me hear the end of it if we skipped." I chuckled. A short, dry sound. That was accurate. Judith had a way of holding on to things, turning them into polite little guilt trips that lingered for weeks. I stepped closer and put my hand on her arm, feeling the warmth of her skin under my fingers. "Thanks," I replied gently. "I know it's not your favorite thing." She shut off the tap and faced me, her smirk softening. "It's your birthday. I'll survive." There was a beat of quiet. Then she moved in and kissed me. Quick, her lips soft against mine. It was a tiny moment, yet it stabilized me. I knew she wasn't pleased about Sunday, and I wasn't exactly bouncing with excitement either, but we'd get through it together. That's how we worked. The rest of the afternoon slid by in a blur. I went back to my pitch, manipulating figures and rearranging lines until my brain ached. Clara went into her small office nook, sketching something on her tablet, her headphones on. Every now and then, I glanced over at her, noticing the way. Her brow furrowed when she concentrated. She looked stunning like that, focused and in her own world. I thought about Sunday again. Judith's spotless house, the expensive table settings she'd pull out, the way she'd linger over us with that forced smile. It would be okay, I persuaded myself. Only a few hours. Yet deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wouldn't. Be as simple as cake and small talk. Judith always had a way of stirring things up, even when she didn't mean to, or maybe, especially when she did. I slumped sideways, my head striking the armrest. Clara's voice faded in and out as she shouted into the phone. "Yeah, my hubby, he's sick, extremely sick. Please, hurry!" The following several minutes were a muddle. I kept slipping, my mind fuzzy one second, keen the next. Clara stayed with me, her hand grasping mine, her voice shaking as she fought to keep me awake. "Liam, stay with me, okay? They're coming, just hold on." I nodded, or thought I did, but my body wasn't. Listening, my vision tunneled, the flat shrinking to a pinprick of light, and all I could think about was those filthy chocolates. What was in them? That question looped in my head over and over as the nausea surged again. I barely made it to the edge of the couch before I threw up, a hard heave that left me gasping, my throat raw. Then the paramedics came. Quick, boots thudding, voices loud and clipped. "What happened?" one of them asked. A guy with a buzz cut and a stethoscope around his neck. Clara's remarks tumbled out, agitated. "He ate some chocolates last night. A whole box. Then he started feeling nauseous just now. Please, help him." They placed me onto a stretcher, my limbs limp and useless. I caught sight of Clara's face, white, fearful, tears smearing her cheeks. "I'm coming with you," she informed them, grabbing her bag. They didn't argue. The ambulance ride was terrible. The siren wailed, lights blazing through the windows. I lay there, tied down, an oxygen mask clamped over my face. The paramedic beside me started asking questions. When did I eat them? How many? How do I feel? Yet my answers were mumbles, half-formed, my stomach twisted. My head ached, and that chilly sweat wouldn't quit. Clara sat near my feet, her hand gripping my leg tight. "You're going to be okay," she kept saying, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I wanted to trust her, but that question kept clawing at me. What was in those chocolates? At the hospital, they wheeled me straight into the ER. The lights were blinding, the noise deafening. Doctors and nurses swarmed, hooking me up to machines, poking and prodding my arm. I faded in and out, catching snippets. Clara's voice. A doctor saying something about stabilizing me, the sound of a monitor. When I came to again, I was in a bed. The room was calmer. Clara was near me. My stomach still ached, but the nausea had softened, and my head wasn't spinning anymore. "Hello," I croaked, my throat dry. She grabbed my hand, her eyes red. "Hello. You scared the crap out of me." "What happened?" I asked, my voice shaky. She swallowed hard. "They don't know yet. They're running tests. Claimed it's not typical food poisoning. Something worse. Worse." That phrase sank in, thick and frigid. I thought about the chocolates, the way I'd eaten every last one, how amazing they tasted, and Judith's call, her panic when I said Clara ate them. "Clara," I murmured, forcing the words out. "Your mom, she knew something." Her face tightened, her mouth drawn in a tight line. "Yeah, I suppose so too." I lay back, staring at the ceiling, the IV cold in my arm. The pieces didn't fit yet, but they were starting to line up. Judith sent those chocolates for me, or so I'd thought. But her